Does Man of Steel suck ass? Zack Snyder fans, I'm calling you out everywhere worldwide because James Gunn's definitely going to save this whole thing. No. But okay, that is what we're doing today. Myself, Heaps Good Hesher, and the man who has had his social media hacked more than an 80-year-old who actively checks the emails for foreign princes' inheritances. It's Heaps Good Lennon.
What the
We
fuck,
are
man? Did you have
both.
that one? Did you have that one ready to go?
I wrote that down.
You son of a bitch! This is like the third time we've tried recording this, and every goddamn time you've tried making me sound like a fucking imbecile.
And tell me you haven't had your Facebook hacked. That one's actually true. So everyone, it's free reign. Anyone on the internet
Campbell,
right
we all
now,
remember the
he
great
has no
hack of
internet security.
2022.
He has no internet security skills. But yeah, no. What the point of our video today is we are revisiting one by one the DCEU, including the Snyderverse, and just seeing if it still stacks up.
And
Today,
to
obviously,
see
is
if
being the
Zack
first one.
Snyder should actually restore the Snyderverse.
If yeah, we're bringing that back into 2025. Yeah, so today is obviously Man of Steel, the first one to come out. What year was this? 2013?
2013.
So a good 12 years ago. Now, just a reminder for anyone listening, it's a 12-year-old movie, so surely you've seen it. And if you haven't, this is not replacing watching that movie, so go watch it before listening to this. Actually, dislike this video on the way out. Dislike this video and then go watch
no,
it and then come back.
don't do that.
No,
Don't do that.
and then maybe come back and then like it again. You
No,
can change
honestly
that.
though,
You can
like,
change
yeah, it's 12 years old. Who hasn't watched it at this point? And even if you haven't, why would you be watching a video on it from like a YouTube channel that has
to
like 2,000
Australians,
subs?
just yeah, ridiculous. Okay, so I do want to get into. We're just going to we're not going to be doing a plot by plot. We're just going to be talking about what we've noticed about the movie. First thing that I want to talk about is everything to do with our introduction scenes with Krypton.
Krypton.
Everything with our Krypton. Also a little bit of background between myself and Lennon. If you haven't been well acquainted with our content in the past, I am much more a comic nerd, and Lennon is much more of a film buff. And boy, he flexes those muscles well. I watch
He's
him
Sigma
every morning in the
comic.
shower.
I'm Beta comic. I'm more into. I
Someone edit a Giga Chad soy Jack.
I just like I don't know. I just like movies. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, he's cute like that.
Yeah,
He invites girls over for Netflix and chill all the time, and
I
his
don't. I'm
partner is
happily
not
partnered.
happy about it.
I'm in a committed relationship.
Yeah. She's just turning them away at the door, going, "Oh God, he's done it again."
That definitely doesn't happen.
But yeah, okay. So first things first. This movie, I probably haven't seen this movie in like 5 years at least. And when I first flicked it on, I'm welcomed by Lara, Clark's Superman's mum, giving birth to him, which is pretty insane.
I don't know
did
why
not
you're so
expect.
weirded out by this. Like, it's just a natural thing.
I
of
am
life.
no, it is a weird thing to put in a superhero movie. I've never seen Spider-Man been given birth to. I've never seen those little webs flip out between two sets of legs. We don't need to see. I know it's a theme in this movie. I know it's a theme in this movie, birth and all that sort of stuff.
I don't want to see that icky and sticky.
Ew. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be the husband in the future that's waiting in the waiting room going, is it done yet? Is my wife normal again? No,
Look,
that's crazy.
I think the introduction is not as weird as you think it is, but what I do think is weird is that I think the design is really, really cool of Krypton, and I really appreciated seeing basically 15 minutes of this awesome, epic Krypton scene that doesn't make sense at times, but everyone's just living in mud.
Doesn't make sense about it. Yeah. What do you mean?
It's just
maybe that's we come from mud, we return to mud. That's a futuristic society.
Oh my God, Zack Snyder's a genius.
Have you ever seen the mud orgy from whichever Matrix movie that's in? They're all in mud.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. That's fucking horrendous.
Exactly. Yeah, so Hollywood's telling us something.
Hollywood's
and
telling
it's
us
returned to
we're
mud.
just a slab of mud.
Yeah. We go back to the primordial swamp.
So-
But yeah, no. So okay, I will agree that the Zack Snyder has built a very comprehensive design element, or however you want to put it, like a world that
It's
Krypton inhabits
mud.
that doesn't
It's
form.
cool armor.
No,
It's
I'm talking. Yeah,
mesh
the armor.
It's Penis-shaped everything.
Penis shape, yeah. Well, Zach does have a thing for if anything's penetrating anything, if a rocket's penetrating the sky,
If anything's
it needs
penetrating anything, it's Zack.
it's yeah, yeah. If one thing talks about his directing style, is definitely penetrating stuff, including our minds. But yeah, no. With everything design elements on Krypton, I would say I was a fan of all of it. I think it all looks really cool. I really like the informed universe that you get in the comics. You do get a couple different viewpoints. I've read plenty of comics where Krypton almost seems designed differently every 10 to 20 years. We've got, super futuristic cities. We've got cities that sort of just look like normal. We've got very clean looking cities.
Mm.
I guess in the new Absolute universe, you have a fleshed out sort of spot that's more farmland and then the city. So you see a lot more of that. You don't just see Kandor, which is Krypton's capital. I had to think about that. But I think Zach knocked it out of the park with this. I was very interested. So I'm not too married to like any sort of comic book rendition where I care about comic book accuracy with that. I think everything here works well. All the suits that sort of give me the vibe of the engineers from the Alien franchise a little bit sometimes, but I don't mind that. Everything looks good. But let's talk. Actually, there was like a weird alien cow thing that I didn't like. I don't really like the aliens in this. I don't really.
So like the actual really animals and stuff like that are on Krypton, you're not a fan. I don't know. I don't mind it, man. Like I just kind of like this movie for me is just fucking switch your brain off and just enjoy it. And I think for the most part it works. I think again, like design wise it works, and I think Zack Snyder, regardless of what you think of him, I think he is such a visual director, and he's just got this ability to like really set a battle scene or just like make something feel epic. And I really love, like, I mean, not to get too far ahead, I guess, but just in general, we're talking about Krypton. I love when there's the coup that's staged by General Zod, and there's Russell Crowe, and I think both Michael Shannon and Russell Crowe are just incredible in these roles. But when Russell Crowe's just like, the world's going to shit, I gotta fucking get the codex or some shit like that, and just like seeing the scale and mixing that with Hans Zimmer's music, I just, chef's kiss. It's fucking amazing.
I mean, I won't lie, like there's a lot of great characterization as well. I love everything that Michael Shannon's doing with Zod, for the most part. There's a theme throughout this movie that everyone is bred for a certain reason.
It's the plot of ants. It's like everyone's you're either a worker ant or you're a warrior ant, and there's nothing else.
Yeah, basically. And like these council guys that Zod overthrows at the start, they really are just the most hopeless.
They're just useless.
Yeah, I don't know what future society has bred a council of a government body to look after a planet, and the planet is literally exploding around them, and they're like, this guy just exploded one of us and we're gonna have a trial. And it's just like, okay, guys, like, you put him on the dick missile, get him in a penis. Like that's not an effective governing body. And as we go through the movie, that theme is really present. Is everyone's bred for a reason. There is
like this whole movie could have been avoided. The whole plot of this movie could have been avoided if those fucking bureaucratic assholes didn't send fucking Zod and his crew in those penises up to the fucking Phantom Queef or whatever it's called. Like if they didn't do that, like Cal would be fine.
Yeah. Like he would probably still be living a nice little life back up on Krypton, or well, no, I think that's already exploding by that point. But also, this movie wouldn't have happened if Zod didn't say that just one little tingy racist thing, the space racism thing that he said when he first kills Councilwoman X and Jor-El.
Yeah, but
we need to remember he's a bad guy.
Yeah, we need to remember that he's a bad guy, and if the yelling doesn't sell it, then maybe what he's actually yelling about might do the job.
I was completely on his side until he said like, "But we control you." Well, actually, to be honest, he has a point. I'm coming back around to it because like, he has a point. If you can edit the gene sequence and not have politicians that act like that, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe the gene sequence should be reevaluated. Maybe we're comparing it too closely to Earth politics. I don't know. maybe Michael Shannon was correct this whole time. But yeah, no. Overall, I
I
think
think
that.
General Zod is pro-vaccine.
Do you think General Zod would be against the LA riots right now, or for? No,
Who
no, no.
knows?
That's
But
something.
I reckon he's definitely pro-life, not pro-choice.
You know something that's going on in the comic book community right now, and I'll spend 30 seconds on this,
Okay,
Max.
is it the LA riots?
It's the LA riots because there's like for a while now there's been a bit of talk of right-wing Superman fans going like, oh yeah, Superman, red, white, and blue is the American values. He would support Trump, and then every comic book fan in the world sort of going like, he is an illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
Like Clark got sent here with no papers, and he just sort of scoped out. And anyway, let's not get political.
Pack your bags, get out.
Now, moving on to Clark being an illegal immigrant, he wanders around planet Earth
and boy,
for
does he
a
look
bit
good while doing it.
Oh, he looks good. He's got a hairy
this is like
chest.
the best looking Superman so far. I reckon. Like,
yeah.
He's a really...
even including our new boy, even including James Gunn's David Corenswet.
So it's hard to say because obviously
Movie's not out.
We haven't seen the movie yet, but I will say I actually watched the most recent trailer on a TikTok today. And you know how like a couple of months ago I was kind of like bitching about the whole wide angle shit and how weird it looks. I think I'm kind of coming around to it now because we've seen a lot more action, and I'm like, okay. Yep. And he also seems like he's got more personality than like a wooden doll. And I think that Henry Cavill's Superman, I think that he encompasses mostly in this movie the whole like, I'm just a boy from Kansas or Smallville or whatever the fuck. And he's just like, just trying to help everyone. And like, I feel like I get that vibe that he's just trying to help people, and he's like a humble farm boy. But in every other movie, he's just like fucking dour and quiet and just like scowling.
They've actually given Superman like a personality, it seems, which I'm ecstatic about. It's the worst written Superman. I've always said for the comics is a hard character to write because you can write him very boring, but when you get a good Superman, that's peak. Like he is a blueprint of superheroes for a reason, not just because he came first.
100%.
Superman works best when I've always thought Superman works best when Kansas first, Kryptonian second.
100%. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see what that's like, and I think that obviously if there's going to be anyone that gives him a personality, and from what we've seen on the I guess from the trailers that we've seen so far, I mean, I think it looks really good so far, but we'll see in like a month's time. So
let's keep it back to this movie. You did just say you like seeing him like going around saving people. He does that in the next few scenes of the movie after the Krypton scenes, where we get him sort of wandering around. He's on the oil rig and everything like that. Or
man, what a masterpiece! What a visual masterpiece! We see Superman's rig on the rig in Zack Snyder.
Yeah, it's rigs on rigs.
What if it was Henry Cavill who was like, all right, Zach, I need you to do a punch-in shot of my abs and then just slowly pan down my glistening rig for like 6 seconds.
Well, bro, if Hollywood's giving me erectile dysfunction because they're pumping me full of human growth hormones, I'm probably gonna ask them to get the guns out a couple times. I'm gonna ask them to be like, hey, make sure you show my abs a little bit. Surely.
all this chicken, broccoli, and rice that I'm definitely only having.
That's every superhero is mega
something. I want it to mean something.
Hugh Jackman is full of shit. I still remember an interview where he was filming the Wolverine, and it's just like, I eat 20 steaks a day and I do push-ups. I'm like, bro, you're like 50 and you've got 20 ab muscles. Like, what are we talking about?
But no,
you're doing something.
I think that honestly, like, I don't know if this is correct. I haven't seen every DCEU movie, so I'm happy to be wrong, but I feel like this is like the one movie where we actually, I guess what you were touching on before, actually see him save people and help people. And like, like in Batman versus Superman from memory, I feel like we see these scenes set up where he's just helped someone out or he's about to help someone out, and it kind of puts him in this light where he's more like a god figure, and it's not really like, it's not the same.
I think that's what Snyder likes to direct. Snyder likes those bigger than life. Like, look at his work on 300, his work on The Watchmen. All those characters are certain, almost like Shakespearean archetypes. Whereas, superheroes in general, they can be that. DC's often got that. DC's often got that their superhero catalog are gods trying to be men, and then Marvel's more men trying to be god. Like it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Stan Lee's always said, I want my heroes to have character defects, like Spider-Man's a little freaking nerd.
He's a fucking loser.
he's a loser. He gets no bitches. He does get a crazy amount of bitches if we're thinking about it.
Yeah.
That's definitely the writers going like, I want the nerd to fuck Catwoman. Oh, where's his one? Not Catwoman, Black Cat. But yeah, no, so with everything with this, Snyder's definitely got a larger than life personality and directing style. So everything in this is blown to epic proportions, which can like I've heard the criticism it's style over substance. I think that this movie has still got a lot of substance, a lot of validity to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is obviously a lot of style, and I think I haven't watched I've watched every DC movie, but I haven't watched a lot of them in a long time, and I remember at the time maybe thinking, "Oh, this is a bit flat." So I'm excited to see what the next few weeks sort of has for that opinion, because I'm happy to be proven wrong. I think I'm going to look back at these DC movies with fonder eyes now that we've got a new universe happening that seems a bit more canonically correct. I'm sort of keen maybe to look back at these almost like Elseworld stories. Like imagine if this came out and it was shipped as like, oh, this is not main canon, this is like an Elseworld.
Yeah. Oh, did that piss me off?
What if story?
Yeah.
No, I think. Oh, actually, if I didn't have something else to replace it, I'm coming in with the mind that we would be in a universe where we had accurate comic book stuff. I think I would be into it.
Yeah.
Like a what if everything was dark and sad and depressing.
Well, I mean, I feel like for a while there, I think before they absolutely shit canned the DCEU and before, the hierarchy.
You mean The Rock didn't? Yeah, I was just about to.
No, but I feel like it was somewhere around that time where, like, the Rock was like fucking summoning his like eyebrow pose or whatever, where they were suggesting that the DCEU could continue, but in its own universe, so that way it would keep the Snyder fans happy, but also like allow for it was kind of when they were doing like the whole like, oh, here's the Joker movie, and then like here's the here's like Jared Leto's Joker in the actual DCEU. Like I don't know. I felt like they were trying to say that there was multiple universes or whatever, but then they were just like, no, this isn't working.
One thing that I do quickly want to chat about in regards to views on Superman. Now, I don't want to hold this against him because I don't want to take the words too out of context, but I want to comment on just like the juxtaposition between Zack Snyder's views on Superman and Henry Cavill. So Zack Snyder has said in interviews before that, it's come off the back of The Watchmen. That whole piece of media is a critique of superheroes. So I'm going to misquote this a little bit, but he said something to the effect of, Superman's the enemy. Like, I'm looking to destroy him. And he does tend to like to deconstruct stuff. And then you've got Henry Cavill, who we were just talking about, shirtless Cavill, being all naked and buff. He fought against the I don't know who would be in control of this, probably the costume department. He fought for Superman to have a hairy chest because he was told, don't have a hairy chest. And he's like, actually, he came in the next day, here's a bunch of comic books. I think he had The Death of Superman and a couple others where Superman has a hairy chest. I think having a director that's maybe looking at deconstruction and then having an actor who's looking at such like to the point where he's where it's to the point where it's just like, nah, he has a hairy chest in the comics. Like, do you think that adds or subtracts from the overall view of this movie?
I think in the grand scheme of things it doesn't matter, but it's like
not specifically a hairy chest. I'm talking about the attitudes.
I was like, well, what's the point? I believe that with like such a visual director, I think that it is like Zack Snyder's got a vision. And I think that, oh man, I saw this interview with Ben Affleck recently, and he was talking about directing his brother Casey Affleck on Gone Baby Gone, and he was talking about how it's really important for, obviously the director's got a vision and they know what they want to make the movie. But with the people who are actually starring in the movie, if they've got ideas, it's important to have a dialogue and make sure it's like a two-way conversation. Like, say, for example, someone might have a really good suggestion. Sometimes it might not work with the vision that you're putting forward. And I guess it's like any form of communication. You need to, to a certain degree, be able to either compromise or accommodate but obviously where you can't, don't. That's a fucking Marvel thing. But I don't know. I just think that in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it really matters too much, because at the end of the day, I don't think people are going to be looking at Henry Cavill as the problem if something doesn't get shown a certain way. It's pretty much.
I think it's fairly universally accepted, even between haters of these movies, that Henry Cavill did a great job as Superman. He just might not, and
he might not have been given the best stuff.
Content to work with. I think that's more prominent in the future movies, so we'll touch on that in future movies when we're looking at them. I wouldn't say that necessarily runs 100% true for this one. Do you just cough your guts up?
Yeah, but I think I muted the mic. So
no, I heard you die like an old man.
No. I think I muted the mic in OBS.
All right. Well, if you mute the mic in OBS, we've just got to digitally add it back in later.
And if you're listening to this and you didn't hear a cough, guess what? I coughed. Sue me.
No, put it back in digitally. Something else I want to talk about as a narrative framing device that's especially prevalent in the start of this movie is the flashback scenes. The flashback scenes, I think, are great.
Yeah.
When I said that, I was just thinking about the bus scene.
Okay.
And there's a high school bully on the bus that says "Dick Splash," which is a swear word I've never heard.
Yeah, I love that insult. It's so good. I don't even know where you could use
what
that.
it means. Yeah, I don't know where you could use that. Yeah. I don't know, like,
what do you think a dick splash is?
I've deconstructed it in my brain, and I don't know what. Maybe your dick's so heavy and wet that it makes a splash, and
yeah, that's what I like to think. It's like an elephant trunk.
You just got a nice fertile dick. Maybe he was. I think that high school bully was actually trying to pay Clark a compliment.
Yeah, he's like, dude, you're hot as fuck.
Yeah, you got that hog on you, bro. That thing's splashing around. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, yeah.
I was just going to say, like, do you think it's fair to say that I think with most things in this movie specifically, maybe not so much the later movies, that there are, with every good thing, there is like an asterisk. Like, I think for the flashback scenes, and I'm keen to hear your thoughts on all of them, or just overall, there are some really good elements. And I really like that you see him as a kid, like honing his skills and developing and like, trying to
I think it's a good narrative device.
Well, yeah. And like I seeing him like as a kid, like trying to grapple with like, oh, what do I do? Do I help him? But then there are other flashbacks that I don't think work as well. And I think a lot of them have to do with Pa Kent or like Kevin Costner.
Yeah, you're nail on the head in terms of what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, but I'm keen to hear your thoughts.
All right, I'll do a quick list. The good flashback scenes. I reckon the start of the bus scene where he saves the bus after getting bullied. I reckon that is very Superman. Even though he's getting, bullied, he will still help people, sort of thing, even if it's at risk of himself. I think parts of the bar scene are really good. I get a bit. I was very excited when I saw that drunk bar guy just sort of bounce off Clark's chest. That's a great.
That is such a satisfying scene, but
it's also satisfying as fuck.
What what a maniac for like Clark is for absolutely destroying that guy's fuck. Like, if
that was going to be my first con.
If he's trying to fucking lay low, that is not how you do it. Because I don't think there is a single thing on this planet that can do that to a truck.
No, and like, okay, so I think if I was in that drunk bar guy's shoes, I would rather get beat up by Superman, because he's not going to kill me. He's not that type of guy. He'll just knock me out. Yeah. I'd rather get beat up by Superman.
Yeah, but you don't know he's Superman.
But like, you've just bounced off this guy's chest, and he doesn't seem like that. He's gonna, if I bounce off the guy's chest, I'm like, oh well, he's killing me. He's definitely knocking me out.
Dude, but the truck is like the ultimate, like, my dog ate my homework. Like, I'm sorry, I can't come to work.
How do you call in sick? Yeah, how do you call in sick to work the next day? They would fire you. They wouldn't trust you with a truck. If you sent that photo to them in this day and age, they would think it's AI.
They're like, is this generative AI?
Yeah. Also, that truck, I assume, is right out the front of the bar. There's no quiet way to do. Yeah, there's no quiet way to do what Clark has done. He is. I mean, like, even slowly putting the logs through it, like, you can't do that subtly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And the other con. So that is a con on the truck scene. Even though it visually, okay, Zack Snyder, all over substance, and in this case, it's left us wondering, how the fuck did he do that to a truck? Why did he do that to a truck?
Yeah.
But style over substance, it does look sort of cool. going on to another con point. So directly related to high school bully bus scene, we get, I think it might be the introduction to Pa Kent, the Earth Daddy. I don't like Pa Kent in this movie at all. I'm pretty sure the Kevin Costner. That's who I'm trying to think about.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner. He's trying to make Superman into Brightburn. Whenever he talks to Clark in this movie, I honestly think that is one of the worst ways that you could raise a superhero child, a superpowered child. I get he's trying to like hide him from the authority, but there's a loving way to do it. He almost gives me if this kid wasn't superpowered, Kevin Costner seems like he would spank his kid well into his teens.
Oh, dude, he'd be He,
yeah.
He'd slam a drink and start punching.
yeah. He just doesn't because he knows a kid's stronger than him. But like, just like we all are when we hit our early 20s. But like, the age when you can stand up to your father. I got to call that after this. But like, there's a part in when he's talking to him by the truck where after he saves a bus full of kids and the kid's mum whatever does goes like, we saw him.
Oh, this is an
Clark
act
goes
of
like,
God or something like that.
Yeah, whatever happens there, some Kansas like Bible Belt sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But like, so Clark goes, what was I supposed to do? Let them die? And he just really nonchalantly goes,
like,
oh,
yeah, maybe.
Bro, you were raising a psychopath.
Yeah,
then.
what the fuck?
Probably.
Dude? That's the shit. Okay. The part that I do like about Pa Kent is that he I love that scene in the that follows this moment in the shed or whatever, and he shows him the dick-shaped pod, and then he's just like, oh look, I believe that you were sent here for a reason, but like, and how he was just like, oh you know,
you are my son.
You are my that's son. I'm like, oh, that feels good.
No, that's good.
I love that.
How much of that's the score and how much of that's Pa Kent? No, I'm not taking that away. That is a sweet moment.
That shit is good, but what isn't good is the constant like life lesson, like every single scene that we have. Like I was thinking about this, every scene that we have with him, he kind of comes off like a bit of a dick and like he's trying to teach Clark a lesson or tell him how important his potential is, and he's just like, you know,
hide it.
Yeah, he's like, hey there, Clark, stop having fun as a kid. You got to stop doing that alien shit right now, because you're eventually going to be doing that alien shit for real, because it like doesn't make sense.
It's like, what are you waiting for? Like, it doesn't make sense outside the plot of the movie, because it's like don't reveal yourself to the planet until the planet's ready. What the planet needs to get ready is a full-scale alien invasion. Yeah, like it's just insane. And I mean, we may as well get to it now that we're bitching about Pa Kent. The death scene. The death scene makes no sense. I'm so upset about this death scene. So I went. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time, because I feel like we're beating a dead horse until it's pulp, until it's mush in the ground, basically glue. But the death scene just we don't really, what is it, a tornado, a hurricane, whatever, the big wind boy, big wind guy. They're driving their truck. They're plot by plot, beat by beat, driving their truck. They've noticed a huge hurricane thing when they're already like 50 meters away from it. Like, how did you not see that already? He goes, everyone get out of your cars and go under the underpass. I Googled it. The exact opposite to what you're meant to do. You're meant to stay in your car, either drive away or stay in your car. And then underpass is like a wind tunnel. You'll get whatever debris are flying towards you at max speed, Mach fuck, right into your skull. So don't go under the underpass. Pa Kent just instructed a bunch of people to not do the right thing. Also, when they pull up, there's people already out of their car running the opposite direction. The road on the other side of the highway is completely empty, and half those cars are trucks. They could easily go over that little bit patch of grass and drive the other way, but they get out of their car. Someone stop me. I need a breather. But
well, like, I mean, if I could just jump in for a sec, like I think even just when I watched this movie at the cinemas for the first time, and even when I watched this the other day for this video, I think even just from like someone who doesn't really read comics, like from a movie point of view, it just felt like obviously this was set up to like the scene to, you know, the whole sacrificing yourself so that way no one sees that Henry's Superman. It's just so fucking weak, and I think that it just doesn't really make sense.
I think that's why this gets criticism. I think that's why this falls apart.
Yeah, I think if it was like a different scenario where it's like it wasn't over something so easily avoidable or preventable, I think a lot of people would have reacted a little bit better. From what I've heard from older comics and like, you know, other commentators, like a lot of people have said that they like the idea of Pa Kent dying from a heart attack because the whole
That
concept
is
of
something
it.
that's present in some comics, yeah.
Yeah, and like the whole point of it is to be like, um, to show that Clark can't like save everyone. Like no matter how hard he tries, he can't save everyone, even like his dad from just a simple heart attack. And I
Yeah.
really like that context. But I think that with this movie, it's just like, well, he could have actually saved him, but he just was told not to, and it's just so fucking stupid. I think that even if in that scenario he was to be like, no, don't stay there, I don't think he would have stayed there. I think he would have tried to save him, but
I don't think it necessarily would have outed him as Superman either. There's a small dog that runs out of the car 2 seconds earlier and doesn't get picked up by the wind.
yeah,
I don't think it's unrealistic to think that, 350 brick shithouse Clark Kent can walk over to his dad and lift him up and then walk him back over
yeah,
without people going, oh yeah, that brick shithouse bodybuilder looking guy
yeah,
that's worked on a farm his whole life. That's unrealistic. He's a super alien. Like I don't think that. Well, yeah. Again, it's just weak writing in that part. I
yeah.
will go in on that scene, but I mean, let's move on
Well, I was
because we're
going to say,
gonna.
can I ask you something? Can we talk
Yeah.
about the pacing of this movie overall? And I guess this will probably start leaning into some of the things that I generally don't like about this movie, and it's
Yeah.
basically the action and the fighting.
Oh, you don't want to go warm, cold, warm feedback. You want to just talk about something else you don't like. Right after that, let's go it.
No, well, it's just that, look, I think, let it be known that, like, I do think that this is probably the strongest movie in the DCEU. Like, I am also, like, an apologist for the Snyder Cut of the Justice League movie. I think it's amazing, but I think that this is just, as far as a movie package goes, I think this is relatively tight, and I think it's a great foundation. And I do have thoughts
Well,
on.
before we get into overall, because I don't want to move into the fight stuff yet, because there is still something I want to talk about now that we're talking about fathers. But there's one good dad in this movie. There's one great dad in this movie that we get introduced to soon after Pa Kent dies, which is Jor-El. Well, reintroduced to Jor-El because we see him in the intro scenes. But when Clark's doing his whole little Atlantic trip to discover his superpowers and go to a Kryptonian ship, we get some of the best scenes in the movie with Russell Crowe. I nearly forgot his name. New Zealander boy.
Jor-El, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, in a perfect world, and this is just something I was thinking about earlier that I just wanted to wrap up in my brain. In a perfect world, I think maybe going off your heart attack thing, where Pa Kent dies of a heart attack, maybe what we should have got from the Earth family is just some good old, Kansas values. Make him an Earth boy first and foremost. There's even a scene with his mum later on, Markent, where she's just like, she sort of brushes away all of Pa Kent's sort of stuff and Kevin Costner's stuff, and sort of goes like, I just care about you. Like, I was just worried about you. I didn't know how to raise a superpowered boy. I love you, da da da. And that's more resonant to me from the human side of things than anything that Kevin Costner said through the whole movie. Then if you want any Superman type, you got to save this planet, just go to the scene where he's learning how to fly and you got the Jor-El speech over the top of it. Like that scene is above and beyond anything else that we get in terms of anything Kevin Costner. We've got one of the best scenes in the movie, him learning how to fly. He's figured out his powers. It shows, like, I know a lot of times they talk about in the comics that he controls space-time around him and stuff like that. Then, oh, not, well, there was space around himself. He's not like flying like a jet engine with his backwards propulsion. You see his fist on the ground with the rocks going around it. You got the Hans Zimmer score. Lennon, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm just listening.
Okay, I was getting on I was waiting for you to cut in about something.
I mean, I don't really have anything to add because I feel like you haven't finished your thought yet.
Oh, no. I was like, oh my God, he's just letting me run wild. I'm not used to no chains.
Like, I'm waiting for you to make a point.
Oh, okay. I just think everything with Jor-El, you cut everything that we get with Kevin Costner. You keep it just to like some good old Kansas City values. He doesn't need to do any of the maybe I should have saved them, maybe I shouldn't have. And then the scene where he's learning how to fly and he pushes up and he goes fucking Super Saiyan up into the Arctic mountains or wherever he's going.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he flies over Africa at some point. You've got the whole let them join you in the what is it? In time they will join you in the sun speech. That's perfect.
Yeah,
That's all you
I
need
think
for
that was a
coaching.
really well framed scene, and I think that it's one of the strongest scenes of the movie. And I do get what you're saying. I'm the biggest fan of Russell Crowe in this movie. Like, I think that he is just such a cool character, from like, you know, him fucking taekwondoing fucking General Zod's ass at the start of the movie, and being a badass like even after death, when he's like in this like, he's this sentient being that's like guarding the ship or whatever, and he's like doing the Jedi Force powers like in the ship protecting Lois and shit. I think all of that is great, and I think he also has like a great scene where he's like showing Clark like his backstory or whatever the fuck, and I just think all of it is executed so well. But I think I can understand and see what Zack Snyder might have been trying to do with Pa Kent as a character, and I definitely don't think that he's unnecessary. I just think that because he is so one note, he just comes off as a bit unlikable compared to say Russell Crowe's performance as Jor-El. He's significantly more likable and just such a cool dude. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
He is a pretty sick dude. He is pretty cool.
He's fucking sick.
Yeah, he's a cool dad, cool space dad. I want to hang out with cool space dad this weekend.
You can't because he's dead.
Yeah, womp womp. He even gets killed later by Zod. As soon as he gets killed twice. He gets killed twice in this movie.
Oh no.
He gets shanked, and then he gets his AI little boy deleted. But yeah, no, that scene's great. The Hans Zimmer score is perfect. Everyone needs to give Hans Zimmer the type of head where you have to wipe your ass crack afterwards.
Jesus
because
fucking Christ.
Because that's perfect. It was tell me you wouldn't. No, his score in this.
Fucking say like, oh, we got to give him his flowers or whatever, rather than just going straight into like give him that wet hot sloppy toppy or whatever.
Yeah. I want to. Yeah, give him that grapefruit treatment. Yeah, get fucking grapefruit.
Anyway,
but yeah, no, I'm still in the opinion that like they could have handled Pa Kent a lot differently. I think everything with Jor-El is awesome. You did want to talk about the pacing.
I think overall, because it's basically roughly around this point in the movie where I think, to give credit where it's due, I think that the whole structure of the movie so far, how it's like, oh yeah, here's Superman's life, but we're going to show a fuck ton of flashbacks like interspliced. I think that's very effective, because outside of the intro scene, there's really no action until basically like the hour 20 mark at Smallville. And I think once we actually hit that point, it is so visceral. Like seeing how, like I really like, even though it looks a bit unrealistic, I like seeing that difference in like movement speed and like attack strength and like all that shit from the Kryptonians. But I also think that once we hit the action, I think that's where the movie kind of just like loses me a little bit. Like I think it's really great, and then it just keeps going, and then it just keeps going. Like, for example, I think the Smallville fight is the best fight in the movie, but I also think, like, I remember like looking at the time when I was watching it, and it goes for like 10 minutes, and just like everything in the town just blows up. And sure, there's some really great visuals and some framing and all that shit. I think it's amazing, but it just keeps going. And I think that honestly, it could have been cut in half for me, and I would have enjoyed it so much more. And it just felt like Zack Snyder had shown an unusually like uncharacteristic amounts of restraint throughout the whole movie. And it was like he was winding and winding and winding. And as soon as the Smallville fight happened, he just fucking let this like action bukkake explode all over the freaking movie. And it's just there's just so much destruction that happens that it's so your eyes glaze over, and like I don't think you should feel bored or like wondering when an action scene is going to finish. But I kind of felt that with both the Smallville fight and the final fight of this movie. But so I think that
I do want to pack into those specifically, but I will agree. It's almost like, you know, he let the werewolf out, the full moon showed itself, and he went, oh, he just went crazy with it. I do think, well, reversing a little bit, I do want to talk. I want to revisit back on everything to do with the military, because you brought up the Smallville fight, and that got my brain going. Like that is the military are involved, being just absolutely useless sacks of shit. As you would in a Kryptonian fight. But just before, I think there's a scene that I do want to talk about, that I because we've been doing a bit of criticism, I do want to talk about something that I really did like. like Clark turning himself into the military after that TV transmission that Kryptonians put out.
Well, yeah.
Which, by the way, the TV transition,
Oh,
it's basically
yeah.
a
I
horror
can't. I
movie.
can't even believe we haven't even spoken about that yet. I think that is just such. It's unexpected, like horror and like this thriller kind of unsettling tone, and I just think that the light bulb shattering and like everything going dark and just Zod.
The sound effects
is so good, dude. Like really well
scene
done.
where it pans over the planet and it's showing Zod speaking in different languages and stuff.
Yeah. Does it make sense? No, but it's fucking cool. So
no, it's cool alien tech and it's creepy. It's scary. I want to
really
know what happens when they go to a room where it's bilingual, where there's multiple people. It's just having the computer systems glitching out, and it's just like, Qui-Gon Jinn, oh yeah, hello, like it's fine. But, like, I don't know, what's Qui-Gon Jinn? Where did I get that from?
I don't know.
Oh, that's the.
That's someone's name in Star Wars. It's not a language.
I was trying to do. Chinese. Oh god!
Yeah, you're
put me in
the
handcuffs.
Military and the inside, and
put me down like a dog
and surrendering himself. I think that was a really cool scene as well.
Talking about another character in this movie that I want to put all 10 of their toes in my mouth. Chris Meloni makes an appearance. The guy from Law and Order. He's a delight in whatever he's in. He's also caked up, but I'm not going to spend too much time on that because that could be this whole video.
Yeah.
But that whole scene where he just lets them handcuff him and is I mean, somewhat authoritative. Like there is a point where he walks up to the double-sided glass, or like the non-see-through cop glass, and he breaks the handcuffs and starts talking to them face to face. But I think it's an excellent use of. Well, one is aura farming. As soon as he enters that scene, he's floating above the clouds, and then he hands himself in. He's immediately
the suit.
Yeah, he's out there doing like a Sam Sulek like back lateral raise.
Yeah.
Just zizzing all over the camera. But yeah, no. So we get through all that, and he hands himself in. He's in the ship. We flash through all the cool stuff with cool Space Daddy, where he's helping them get out. We get another cool Space Daddy's speech as he escapes. Zod. The one thing I'll say quickly about Zod is I feel like they almost had a great bit of characterization with him as like a bit of a manipulator, and then they sort of had to fast travel it so that they could get to the Smallville fight. Because do you remember on the spaceship he's sort of almost like charming and understanding of Clark. Clark doesn't call him General Zod or something, and Feora, the girl Kryptonian, sort of up his ass about it, and then he's like, oh, he's not used to our ways, and then all of a sudden he has that.
He's like, oh, does he have to be alive for us to extract the codex?
Yeah, and he gives him that nightmare scenario and all that sort of stuff, and like just unfurls. Like I feel like for a second there, Zod was almost coming across like he could manipulate Clark, and then he just ruins that because we have to be reminded again that he's a villain.
Yeah.
Which again isn't Michael Shannon's fault. It's the same sort of thing. Whereas I think Henry Cavill and Michael Shannon have done great with what they've been given.
Yeah.
But obviously he was given a script to perform, and that's the way it sort of came out in the edit. And then we're reminded that Zod's a bad guy. They escape the ship, and we're into the Smallville fight. Everything to do with fight. Now, I think we slightly differ in opinion about this because we have talked about it before. But I think last time we spoke about this, you did have a point that it doesn't feel like he's necessarily saving too many people. If I'm correct there.
I think, feel like... I mean, in the Smallville fight, he's obviously trying to save like the military that are like in danger and trying to show that he's on their side. But I think just as a whole, there's so much destruction that's happening, and I don't feel like he is showing any inclination to try and prevent any of that destruction from happening, or trying to get the fight out of the town, away from the people, away from the buildings. He's like, what, is there a tanker over there? Let's blow that up as well. Like, I don't care. You threaten me.
I think, yeah, he comes in just crazy as wide-eyed. Yeah, no, I'll agree. I think if we're talking about superhero fight scenes, I think that one's a little bit more like part of the course, because I feel he's
green.
The only scenes, yeah, he's new, and the only scenes where he's really fighting in close combat, other than when he punches Zod through that tanker, is like he's thrown into a lot of buildings, but he does sort of, I did notice he tries to bring it back to street level. He's getting attacked actively by the military and by the Kryptonians, and when that guy falls out of the helicopter, he goes and tries to save him. well, I think he does save him. I think it's more egregious in the Metropolis fight because in that fight you literally have a scene where they're in the destroyed part of the world engines when the world engines flatten half of that city, and it seems like Superman almost intentionally punches Zod into a heavily populated area of the city again to continue fighting. Like that's a little bit more egregious to me. I think if we're talking about the two main fight pieces of this movie, I don't think it's straight up I mean, like, think about, like, the Avengers, Hulk running through buildings and stuff in Avengers 1. No one really says that. I think that's the Smallville fight for me is closer to that sort of superhero level destruction where they're not super in control, but they're trying to. The big one for me is the Metropolis fight. That one's the one where it's like, okay, well, you definitely could have saved a lot more people than you did in that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think that I mean, like, I already spent a couple of minutes before talking about the fight, so I don't really have too much more to add, but I think my main issues with the combat are mainly, like, that final fight as well. Because I think that, like, there's a moment where it's, like, after the ship and the world engine stuff, which, by the way, I think the world engine, I think it's great. Like, I think at the time when this movie came out, there wasn't really the whole, like, light in the sky kind of thing trope as of yet, maybe outside of, like, the Avengers. But I think for the most part it works really well. And I really
the design's really cool.
Yeah,
the sound
exactly. Except for the tentacles, that was kind of weird. But
I've told you, I'm pretty sure, and I still believe this. The world engine that's over the Indian Ocean, when it first goes to attack Clark, the arm and the pincers of it look like Doc Ock's arm from Spider-Man 2. It's like almost the same character model. And I haven't Googled this since we've last talked about it to confirm.
And I won't.
But and I will not. And I will die with this belief that they took the same assets from that movie and used them again.
Yeah,
also, actually, sorry, I didn't know if you had anything else to say about that. I did want to talk about their world engine plan a little bit before we move straight onto the final fight.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, I'll just finish my point with the fight. So I feel like after all that happens, the ship crashes from the sky and all that stuff, and Lois and Clark are just, like, chilling in this, like, crater of destruction, and everyone's basically looking on, and they just, like, have a pash, and I feel like
no sexual chemistry really up until this point.
Yeah, I feel like the fight could have just ended there, and, like, it could have slowly started winding down to obviously the final scenes that we see in the movie, but obviously, Zack Snyder just had to do it. He had to do it again. And then freaking Michael Shannon is just, like, crawling out and he's, like, having a fucking meltdown and interrupting, like, their pash. And then another fight goes on for, like, 7 minutes. And it's just, like, really egregious at that point. But that's kind of the main thing I kind of wanted to talk about with that. But if you wanted to talk about, like, the world engine or the plan, then go for it.
Because that is a big part of this movie. That's a big plot device of this movie. I will say I like everything to do with, like, Zod trying to terraform the planet back into Krypton. I get why
it makes sense.
He would want it.
Yeah,
it makes sense for a character that's, we keep getting reminded is just super evil. But the military bros idea, Christopher Maloney and gang. Well, no, I think it's Superman's idea, but the military bros just, like, get really on board with it to open a fucking black hole. Right above Metropolis.
Christopher Maloney's, like, I'm pretty sure that I've seen the math or whatever. I've seen him in action. Yeah, the math checks out, or something like that. It's like, how the fuck would you know out of nowhere if a black hole above, like, Metropolis is just going to work? Like, how are you qualified to know that information?
Also, infamous for not closing. Like a black hole is not something that just goes, yeah, I'm done now. Like, I've sucked up enough. I've only sucked up the Kryptonians. I'm good. Like, I don't know if it's, like, meant to be opening a portal to the Phantom Zone, and anything that you could explain that away with a line of dialogue. Anything with Phantom Zone properties gets sucked. I don't know, but, like, or relate it to how they sent them there in the first place with the teleporting tech. But no, I'm pretty sure they explicitly go, like, yeah, it's a black hole, and it'll get
don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it.
Stupid. It's stupid writing. Anyway, but the scene where they're taking him out, it does visually look cool. We get another moment of Christopher Maloney rizzing up the
Oh,
the female
Feora.
Kryptonian Feora. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's still sexual. There's more sexual chemistry there than
See,
there
I
is
don't
between
see it.
Clark
I
and
just
Lois.
like I kind of get it. Like with the death scenes, like, oh, a good death is its own reward, and it's just like having that played back. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's kind of funny.
That's
But
flirty. That's man. You don't talk to girls at the bar like that.
no,
That's not.
I
That's
don't
not your
because again,
go-to
I'm
line.
in a committed relationship. I wouldn't do that. I love my girlfriend and I love my life.
Over the course of this series, I'm just gonna try to incriminate you more and more and more. But yeah, no, I mean everything with the world engines is pretty cool. I mean, if you look past, like I do like how it like picks everything up and slams it back down. That's a cool like
It's a cool effect.
tension builder. But it's a cool tension builder for like some of the survivors that you get, like Syl in Metropolis and stuff,
Yeah,
on their side of the planet. Let's just start covering the end of it because I think we've talked about basically everything else that we want to
yeah, I
talk
think
about.
so. Yeah,
Let's start getting into this Zod versus Kal-El fight. So basically, I would say it starts when Superman lands on Zod's ship with all the baby embryos on it. There's two things that I want to point out with this scene. One, it like just before he has like this little breakdown, he does have that moment where he's talking about his. Oh, actually, no, sorry, this is just after the ship. So he lands on the ship, and there's one quote that he says is, "If you destroy this ship, you destroy Krypton." Which I think for me, as soon as I watched that again, it just highlighted that they're really trying to paint this guy like a villain because he forgot that they can just fuck. Like his like I know that's a big theme of this movie.
I don't know if it's them
but
trying to paint him as a villain. I just think it's like you could have just
he's
thought about that,
one-track
but he didn't.
Yeah, is the ultimate no fap incel in this scene because I actually like let out a laugh as soon as he said it because I was just like, dude,
Dude, come on.
find a girl. Yeah, hanging out with
Come on.
Feora. Christopher Maloney's gonna steal her. Hurry up! Like,
Yeah, but it's
get in there.
unnatural. It's unnatural. And
Dude,
I'm scared.
okay, and I know
I'm so scared.
I'm scared. I can't talk to a gal. No, I get like Zod wouldn't know this, but like I'm fairly confident that in the comics, Superman's son's just as strong as Superman. Like I'm pretty sure John, his son, is like just as like okay, he wouldn't know that because that's a different universe
Yeah.
and the future, but. It's just he's so one-track minded, and then I guess okay, so he blows up the ship, and then Lois and Clark have their little smoochy smooch for no reason, and Zod does sit in the ashes and have his little sookie sook, and he sits in the ashes, and he does say something that sort of informs why he's been behaving the way this way through this whole movie. He says, "I exist only to protect Krypton. That is my sole purpose for which I was born, and every action I take, no matter how violent or how cruel." For the greater good of my people, sort of reinforcing that idea that on Krypton everyone's born for a reason, and he is only a military mind. He's a military mind that gets beaten up by a scientist right at the start of the movie, but he is a military mind nonetheless. He is David Goggins. Go ahead and who's going to carry the logs and the boats? Okay, that's not really related, but like,
But he's still got a wedgie from like fucking I don't know, the equivalent of like Theo Von or something like that. I don't know. But like,
yeah. No, it's just those almost if they were in reverse order. If those two quotes were in reverse order, they would be more justified to me. If we got more of that characterization that we get from Zod right at the end of the movie, like I exist, that I exist only to protect Krypton, the sole purpose for which I was born, blah 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 blah. That for me justifies everything, but it just feels weak when it's after you've watched this character for nearly 2 hours do his whole thing.
yeah, I mean,
Like
I didn't mind it. I mean, I could get the motivation and I can understand why he's saying it. I was actually gonna suggest that I felt like it was almost like unnecessary. It was like just the last like beat over the head, being like, right, remember, here's his motivations, and I feel like we kind of already understood that that's what his character was like, even from the start, where he like staged the coup, and he was just like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I get what you're saying, but I just almost felt like
I think my problem is with all that stuff, even though it was still like there, it was just a bit weak, so it made some of his decisions after that point seem not as warranted. So
yeah,
like if we had like a conversation or a bit of dialogue early in the movie that was that strong, that obvious, then for me I would have been like, oh, okay, well, I can understand this guy acting evil and like an idiot because we've been saying we had to be reminded why this guy was evil.
yeah.
That makes it a bit more
I just think
justified.
like, yeah,
going
trust the
forward in the
audience
movie.
more.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess we're both coming at this like from different angles. I think the inclusion of that bit is either for me in the wrong spot of the movie, for you just shouldn't have been in there at all. And then they get into the big fight. which I've already said is way too much destruction for what it's worth.
Yeah.
There's this point where they go into space, and statistically they should land in a different spot, but Clark decides to land right back to where they landed from and just kill more people. They could have landed in the ocean, or a desert or something, or middle of Australia. There's hardly any people there. That is more barren than DC's version of New York again, and just taking out more and more people.
Yeah.
So
but
that's
instead he punches Zod into the second tower. Basically, he's just like,
oh, the second.
Ooh, there's a building over there that hasn't been hit.
Yeah. DC just lived through like probably about 100 9/11s in the same day, and it's just like, let's destroy the other half of the city. So yeah, that's, I mean, even when the ship's flying out of the sky that Superman lands on, with all the Kryptonian birthing stuff, we know Superman's quick and strong enough to have guided that out of there. But Zack Snyder wanted a cool shot where the spaceship flies through 100 skyscrapers and takes out 200 families on their way down. And then we end with, they do some biff and they do some punch and they da. The other big scene. So I feel like when people critique this movie, they critique
Clark Kent's, the next snap,
Kent's death scene, and the next snap. The next snap is pretty egregious.
Yeah,
it's not great. I get why Snyder did it, but it's one of those situations where I would have preferred Zod to have died by his own hubris. I feel like that's where the movie was sort of setting itself to go, sort of reminiscent of, Green Goblin taking himself out on his own glider in Spider-Man 1.
Yeah.
The Tobey Spidey. I think that would have been a much more justified end for this absolute military fanatic of a Kryptonian to die in his own sword a little bit, rather than put Clark in a position where he has to save a small family of innocents. After, to be honest, you're sort of fatigued by the fact that, like, you're adding a death count in your head as you see each skyscraper fall down.
Yeah, and like,
okay,
I was just gonna say,
I get this choice is right in front of him. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy.
No, you go.
I was just one more little bit. Like, I get that the choice is right in front of him, like a family right in front of him, and is seeing it. But logically speaking, or like, if you give it 2 more seconds of thought, if that's his energy, he should have been more careful about protecting the skyscrapers that have hundreds of families in them, rather than the one that he's looking in the eyes of,
No, absolutely. I mean, I bundle this in literally the same camp as the, like, Parr death scene, where I can understand the motivation, but the way it was executed was just so stupid. And, with, Clark snapping Zod's neck to save a family that, by the way, the most useless family in Metropolis, they just could have been helpful and took like 2 steps to the left, but they just refused to help and move out of the way. And, I think I get, like,
you're trying to make the argument that they deserve to die.
If you're not going to step out of the way, if someone's going to laser you, like, just, what are you doing? Like, it's natural selection or Darwinism or whatever, that, survival of the fittest. Maybe they should have been taken out. But no, I think I feel like a big uproar that happened at the time of this movie, when that happened, people were like, oh, Clark wouldn't have done that, Clark wouldn't kill someone or whatever. But I always associated that as being like Batman's thing, and I figured that wasn't necessarily like a Superman thing. And again, I think
in the comics, I
was just going to wrap it up by saying that I don't think people would have been as shitty about it if it was just executed better, and if it was visually maybe directed better or made to look like, oh, okay, there genuinely wasn't any choice here, like he had to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you already know how I think Zod should have died. Maybe not in that a completely different scenario, but I feel like, just to quickly talk on like the Superman killing sort of thing, Superman's not strictly a no-kill hero. Like, he will avoid it. He's sort of like Spider-Man, like he will avoid it, but he has been known to kill. Like, that is a Batman rule. Batman, almost stubbornly, like, Batman should definitely kill the Joker. I don't think that's a hot take. There's whole story, like, Under the Red Hood, where that's a main theme of it all, is he should definitely kill the Joker. But Superman's not necessarily a no-kill hero. I don't think you have Superman kill someone in his first movie, though, if that is the route you're going, because he will avoid it at all costs if he can. He hasn't killed Darkseid, for example. So maybe having him kill Zod in the first movie is a little bit crazy, even though he's a no-kill hero, which I will stand 10 toes on. Even though he's not a no-kill hero, he will still sometimes do it. He will avoid it at all costs. Whereas, like, the Snyder Superman kills a bunch of people. We'll talk about it again in the next one.
Well, yeah, I was going to say,
yeah.
I feel like the next movie actually did a really good job at recontextualizing the whole Metropolis fight, but also what happens with Zod's body and such. So even though I feel like they could have gone about doing this a different way, I do think that they handle it as best as they could with the next movie.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest, I don't really think I have too much more to add about this.
No,
I guess I do just have some overall thoughts, but
yeah, we'll get to that. The only last thing we've just got like the little wrap up of the movie. The last little bit of things that I wanted to say, maybe just end it on a good note, is I did like how they finalized this movie. I did like how we've got Clark adopting the reporter.
That's such a good scene where he joins the Daily Planet.
That's a good scene. And it seems like for once there's actually some interaction that I actually really liked between him and Lois, where I know it's subtle, but he's like, I've got to find a role that I can keep my ears close to the ground and no one's going to question when I want to walk into danger and things like that. I think he almost took inspiration from Lois in that, which I do like that sort of dynamic. I like a boss bitch Lois Lane, and him sort of taking inspiration from Lois is exciting to me. In terms of like their dynamic, because in the end, like Lois is like the hard bitch, and then Clark is like the idyllic Kansas boy that just believes in good and a little bit naive sometimes of like how good things can be. I do like that he I interpret it as he took inspiration from Lois to become a reporter. So I like how that all wraps up. But yeah, I guess okay. If we're taking a step back, because we've been going straight into the nitty and gritty with this movie, and I know we've had like a bit to say about some maybe criticisms of it. What would you say is your final thoughts on Man of Steel?
I think that this, like in hindsight, I think that this movie really benefits from the fact that, and this is an assumption, but it wasn't built with a universe in mind. And outside of a few like Easter eggs here and there, like the LexCorp tanker, or I think at one point you see like the Wayne satellite. Yeah, like outside of that, it's like a self-contained movie, and it doesn't even try to allude to a sequel. I don't really think, and I don't really count the whole Daily Planet scene as like sequel bait.
It's just sort of like his adventures
like
continue.
Yeah. But I think overall, this movie does benefit from the fact that it isn't trying to like tie in future movies like basically every other DCEU movie does, and it feels like a really satisfying and complete experience, if that makes sense, which basically just doesn't happen afterwards. Outside of that, I think it's the strongest DCEU movie overall. I think that it's the best portrayal of Henry Cavill's Clark Kent and Superman. Like, he's very earnest. He's very, trying to just help like the humankind. I do think that a lot of any of the issues aren't from the cast. Like, I think that everyone is really well cast, and I even like Lois Lane. I think that there is like a lacking sense of chemistry overall between Henry Cavill and Amy Adams, but I don't think it's because of them. I think it's purely, my theory is that Zack Snyder is really good at making something feel epic, but if something feels so epic and grandiose and a little bit like once removed from reality, it's so hard for character, like for levity and romance and all that shit to feel organic and good. Like, there's some scenes where it's like, that captain chick being like, he's really hot, and then like, Henry Cavill, like, I think kind of flirting with Amy Adams, being like, you're gonna want to step back, maybe a little bit further.
Yeah, you're gonna want to step back. I'm gonna cauterize your wound with my laser vision.
Yeah, it's just like there's always just this really weird, unnecessary grit or like dark turn or dark like element that needs to be added to every moment. It's kind of like, I think that if this had a slightly different tone, Kid Clark wouldn't feel like a potential Brightburn waiting to happen, and romantic scenes won't feel so weird and foreign or stilted or whatever the fuck. And I don't know. Like, I think that there are obviously some drawbacks from this being shot in a way to make it feel epic, but I think that aesthetically, I think tonally, like, I think that this is really good. I also think that the fact that this is shot to be intentionally darker and grittier to offset the MCU at the time, I think it works. I do like the darker tone of this universe, but yeah, I just think
you edgy little boy.
I think just overall, I think it's a good movie. Is it perfect? Obviously not. I think there's a lot of things that could have been done better, but overall, I think it's a good movie.
I'll agree. I'll agree with that. Just to surmise, yeah, I think overall he got enough coaching through the movie, whereas realistically, if Zack Snyder was better at maybe just character and character moments, maybe all you need to have the Earth Dad parents doing is just be good parents, and then I feel like it was. Park Kent was just coaching him. You only really need that from Kryptonian Daddy, and that makes more sense because he's an AI that was literally sent there to do that. So, and he doesn't have much time with him. So, yeah. I don't know. Maybe some of these character on character moments needed to be fleshed out in a better way, or dropped entirely and replaced with other things. I think Zod's death could have been done in a better way, and I think maybe if we had a little bit more energy of Clark trying to save people in the Metropolis fight, this would have felt more polished to me. I wouldn't have as many criticisms. Overall, though, like, I don't want to dunk on it too bad. It's still a very beautiful watch. The score's great. The cinematography is great. A lot of the characterization is good for what, Clark does. There are some great moments with him. There's some great moments with Zod. There's some great moments with Jor-El. So I will say, overall, it's a great watch. It's a really fun watch, and I think it does a lot of things justice. I think I like it better on the rewatch than I did when it originally came out, because I'm not going to lie, I was a bit of a critic when it first came out. I was, younger, I was fresh from reading comics. Yeah. Whereas now I'm like looking back on it, as we said earlier in the video, we have the benefit of knowing that there's going to be another universe coming in with a different directing team and everything like that. That's different in tone. Yeah. So it doesn't feel like this is all that we have. It does. I do like it almost like an Elseworld. This is a Snyderverse, and we've got something else coming. But I think that about wraps up our thoughts on this old thing. Definitely, if you made it this far through the video and you ignored our warnings at the start to go watch the movie first, well,
good work,
idiot. Yeah, I blame you. You're a fool. But maybe go watch it. And if you have obviously watched it already, I reckon it is worthy of a rewatch. But next week is Batman vs Superman, so we will get to that soon.
Oh boy, yeah, I can't wait.
Yippee! All right. Catch you guys. Bye.
Bye.